Well, as you know, I became the technology teacher for K-8 this year when I went from the math classroom from a part-time job to a full-time job. So I really didn't have the experience I felt I needed. I'm good with all the Google, I had been using Google Classroom and Docs and that sort of thing on my own. But I was more thinking, I'm going to see something, know specifically what I'm supposed to be teaching. I mean, we do have the curriculum map. However, I wasn't sure exactly how I was supposed to follow all that. And because technology is always changing, I said, that was written a few years ago. Is that even really accurate? So the workshop was completely different from what I expected. I didn't really read it. I just saw it was technology. So I said, sign me up. And so I was a little overwhelmed. This whole year has been a little overwhelming. There's not enough hours in a day. So it was, I was a little overwhelmed the first 2 days of going to the workshop. But I have to say, I'm so glad I was pushed into it. Felt, this obligation to complete it, because I get the whole picture now that you don't just do technology to entertain and just for the sake of technology.
I really never even heard of ISTE, International Standards of Technology. I never heard of this before. I didn't know anything about it, but what's great is that it worked so well alongside what I'm studying now towards my master's in educational technology and library media. And like everything just merged together. It was like all the same ideas, and like so if what I was learning in like one class about educational theories with critical thinking and computational thinking, I was like, oh, wait a minute, we spoke about this. So, and it just so happened to be at the same time, like everything was like, oh, I know about this because we worked on it over there, and it helped each other out, like it made both ends like worked out because I was doing the ISTE. So
Cert just basically said, oh, I have this and I want you to try to find someone to go with. I was like, oh, okay, it involves technology, so I'm all with that.
One of the things that I wanted to tell you about this whole process was, first of all, as you know, I'm a very tech-savvy person, but I really, truly, my eyes were opened more about understanding, UDL and using the standards not so strictly, like to find that there's certain things that you already do that really just match the standards when you're using like tech tools and certain things. And my teachers found that out as well, because 2 teachers took this course with me. So it really it's not all just a change of tools that you use, it's a change of the mindset of how you use those tools.
I'm looking forward to doing the portfolio aspect, because I do think I've done some really cool stuff now that I would like to be shared somehow, and just to kind of organize my thoughts on everything that we've done, because it's been a whirlwind, and I've done some stuff that I think the kids have really stepped up and they're open to everything, which I'd like to show people.
Well, like I said, I didn't even expect this like technology component to library. I wasn't expecting it at all, even when I went to when I started my courses at NJCU. So it's all really new to me.
I did the monster project with 5 classes, which was also a lot to bite off, I realized.
Yeah, that is a big thing.
3 of the 5 classes are done though, and the kids really just, for the first time, they did a Zoom meeting like this with a class, which they had never done anything like that before. So that was new to them. But we also ended up, they learned to use Google Docs. They used Google Draw. This is 2nd and 3rd graders. They learned to get into their Google accounts. They didn't even have that under their belts coming in. So just that one project, I feel, made the technology class this year worthwhile. And I could just check off and be like, wow, all these kids can get into their accounts and collaborate and share. And we've even dealt with, you don't share, you could accidentally delete someone's stuff, and all that's kind of worked its way through this project. So yeah, when they saw the redraws that the other school did, I mean, I took video of it. They're just screaming with delight.
Oh, it's definitely taken a new step, and everyone else. For me, it was 2 years as the technology integration specialist, where I was getting a program started here at Holy Spirit, and shortly after that, I realized that I needed to do something else. And while I had attended graduate school and had multiple technology experiences with that, and like I said, I thought I was on the cutting edge then. taking this cohort on has been eye-opening for me. In some instances, it's just kind of blown me away with all the things that, I had at this point in time, because I didn't think that, there was anything else out there yet that could be so breathtaking. And the way, the class is formed, and the way it takes place over the course of 9 weeks. Now I teach middle school. I have social studies and religion on a daily basis. Middle schoolers, I even got to test out a few of my own projects through the cohort to see how I could adjust after I had given them the project. One of the projects I had done was the American Revolution, where they had to advertise for the colonies, and they were basically creating travel brochures, creating an online video, a commercial, which was going to be judged. Gave them an opportunity to really, use some video technology, using simple iPads, which things that they weren't exposed to before. So it's been an incredible experience. It really has. I almost want to say, at least in my teaching career thus far, it's been life-changing. It's an everyday experience, and this was an opportunity for me to finally not just use Google Classroom for giving them an assignment to do online, but actually letting them do things with the equipment, seeing that there's more to an iPad than iTunes, or just certain aspects of it that allow myself and my students to actually connect digitally. I think it was a great overall experience, to be honest with you, and I really think it was a great overall experience. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually even encouraging some of my colleagues to consider it in the future as well, because I feel like this is that extra step. And I felt really, happy with the end result thus far.
From a teacher perspective, I think this program, besides the fact it really helps you feel a little bit more in line with the standards. My own teacher said to me they felt more comfortable with the ability to not be the sage on the stage in the room. And I think that's one of the most important takeaways to me about getting into this program, that it's okay to learn along with the kids. It's okay to say, let's try this. I don't know how it's going to work out, but let's figure it out. I think for some teachers, that's a hard concept, because you feel like you've got to be the person who knows it all in the room. I think they should go into this knowing that no matter how tech savvy you are or not, that it's, again, going back to what I said before about a mindset change, but the mindset change is to be able to show the students that you're learners as well.
I would say just the time management aspect is very important, because you think you have 2 weeks to do a project or do a module and you fall behind and you're worried about discussions and getting your project critiqued by your fellow teachers. You have to worry about that a lot. But once you get into the mindset of setting that up and setting your goals and getting your parameters set up, it's really easy to follow.
To speak to the time issue, yeah, I was concerned about, am I going to have this time? But what I found was working on the different tasks, my mind started to go exponentially. Like, it was opening up so many avenues that you feel super inspired, and you start to make connections like, oh, I can pull this in under this topic, and oh, this can also be the lesson that I used to get observed. So where I had so many different things, so many separate things I felt like I needed to do, it kind of just roped around. Doing the ISTE stuff was just tying everything in, and I felt like I was on one path and doing it the right way. For example, to do the Monster Project, because you're familiar with that, I mention it again. It covered so many of the bases that I thought, how am I going to get through all the Google pieces that I want to show them, and teach them how to type, and make them be good communicators? And it just tied everything in. So even though it took us longer than I had originally anticipated, I got so much more out of that. It kind of tied everything in as one, pulled in so many different avenues. And even with my math classes, I always have used Google Classroom. So I thought, well, I'm covering technology where, all of our notes are online and they're looking at a projector every day in the math classroom. But this just really opened my eyes to how much that I could be doing. So while it is time consuming, I feel like it's checking the boxes of all the other things I would normally have to do in the school day. That we can share our work in real time. You know, everybody can look in that class portfolio. That's something easy, quick. I could do that on a weekly basis. With the math class, I just see the need for projects where I before was like, I'm not doing projects. I don't have time for this. I have to get through the entire pre-algebra curriculum. Now I have done a couple projects where I feel like we used Powtoons and giving them different means for presenting. In other words, working with statistics, but they had so many different ways of kind of catching the class's attention and presenting so that the kids actually were interested and understood. And, you know, some are still, you know, we'll make a spreadsheet, but somebody else will use one of these other avenues.
It's definitely worth your while. Various reasons. It's critical thinking. It applies to so many different avenues, as everybody's been saying. You know, it's just one of those type of programs that in some instances, it's even more different than going to graduate school and taking classes because of the way that it's laid out and it's structured. There's a lot of critical thinking, a lot of work, not just the discussions, but you know, using the different standards, making sure that they're completely up to par. And if you're up for the challenge, this is definitely for you. But even if you're not, this is a good way to really investigate how technology can be a part of your classroom. And I just feel like it's been a great experience. Like I said, I thought I knew a lot, but you know, taking this program has really opened up my eyes in ways I never thought of using technology, seeing new spins on applications, new spins on the use of technology. So it's been vital for me as an educator, and even as a tech integration specialist, and even working with our computer teacher to share some of these things. And you know, coming back next year, looking towards our staff to do professional development in technology, and hopefully help them bend their mind a little in a way that it's a positive experience.
Yes, it was grueling. Looking back on it, I mean, it was the right amount of work if I wasn't doing anything else. It wasn't hard to grasp all the concepts and things. It wasn't something that was like, oh my gosh, I don't understand what I'm doing. In the beginning, I think that the overwhelming part was just something I put on myself. The work itself was not difficult. Like, it was feasible. I was able to do it even though I don't have the experience or the knowledge.